His reviews will get you further than the film will ever go. If you give him just a moment of your time, he'll let you know which movies rock, which movies stink, which movies shouldn't have been released. Say hello to Confused Matthew.
This movie is fucking good. I almost hate to say it that blunt and immature because of just how good it is, but this movie is fucking good. This is one of those reviews where I really only want to outline the highlights of what makes this the great film that it is. To truly appreciate what a masterpiece There Will Be Blood is, you really have to watch it yourself. A step-by-step commentary of the film and a detailed description of everything that happens in the film would really only diminish that experience. It's that damn good. What we have with There Will Be Blood is a character study that is very similar to Citizen Kane, but with enough differences to prevent it from becoming a rehash. This is a character study centering around an oil tycoon named Daniel Plainview. The film chronicles this man's rise to power and control of a particular town. Daniel is first presented to us as a friendly, well-spoken man of the people, more like a politician than a businessman. The film gives us no clues in the beginning that this is an evil man. He seems kind and polite, and always tries to include the community in his dealings. But something just didn't feel right about this to me. One of the marks of an outstanding movie is its ability to convey a character or idea without directly announcing any of it. And as I watched this man smile and declare that he would like to meet with everyone in the town and get to know them, something just felt wrong. I had no reason to doubt him at this point in the film, but I just didn't believe him. Everything about Daniel that is real is going on under the surface, like a deck of cards that he keeps close to his chest. On the outside, he is the perfect salesman, but on the inside, Daniel is a cold, calculating, evil man who hates mankind and wants nothing but to take them and their town for all that it's worth. He also hates competitors, which is where the town's spiritual leader comes in. Eli Sunday is the mirror image of Daniel, but where Daniel is conducting business fraud, Eli is conducting spiritual fraud. This is the worst of all charlatans, a man who sells his attendants false spiritual hopes, lulling them into fits of superstition rather than a real religious or spiritual guide for their lives. Watching these two try and one-up one another is both fascinating and at times unnerving, but in a good way. It's almost like they're attempting to defeat themselves, and they can easily see what the other is trying to do because they both know exactly who the other is. But for as good as their rivalry is, this movie is about one thing: watching a con man put up a facade, and having that facade be systematically dismantled until he just can't do it anymore. Daniel's man of the people mask erodes away before our very eyes as his plans are constantly becoming more difficult than he assumed. His plan is simply to buy up the land for cheap and steal the oil out from under the people. But in the process of this, his son goes deaf, his brother turns out to be not what he presented himself to be. Everything falls apart around him until he just can't pretend anymore. And that is the primary value of this movie, watching a man's good-natured facade gradually crumble away until all that is left is his real, miserable self. This movie has often been compared to Citizen Kane, and while the basic overplots are pretty similar, there is one big difference between the two. There Will Be Blood is Citizen Kane without the sled. That is, it is Citizen Kane without a shred of remorse or regret. At first I thought that Plainview's kid was his sled. He seemed to be the one and only thing that Daniel ever really cared about in his life. But the end of this movie shows what a true bastard this man really is. And I don't want to give away the ending, so I'm not going to tell you what happened, just in case you haven't seen this movie, but trust me, watch it for yourself. The ending is simply amazing. Daniel Plainview is a monster who wanted nothing more than money, power, and control. And in the end, that is all that he ever really had. As I've said in the past, I typically only make references to a performance if it is outstandingly good or outstandingly bad. Here, the former case cannot be praised enough. Daniel Day-Lewis becomes this character, this man. Throughout the film, there is never any hint that this is an actor playing a role. It's one of the best performances that I've ever seen in a film, and almost transcends the film itself. I honestly don't know how good this movie would have been without him, because I simply can't picture the character as anyone but Lewis. And while it would be easy to simply gush over his performance, we must also not forget the effort put forth by Paul Dano as Eli and Paul. Here, with the character Eli, we also have a character trying to keep up appearances. Only here, when things don't go his way, he swings into almost a rage fit. Whereas Daniel remains relatively composed in either mode, Eli almost devolves into a tantrum of his own loss of pride. Both performances are spot on and memorable, and both should be truly commended. In truth, the film, unlike Kane, is not absolutely perfect. There are some pacing issues, and one or two scenes could have been cut for lack of any real relevance, but it is a truly outstanding film overall. It's films like these that make me appreciate minimalism, for this is truly minimalism done well. The importance of this film are in its details, and if you don't pick up on those, you might write this off as just a slow-paced film with very little going on. But the film itself is almost exactly like its principal character. Everything is going on underneath the surface. It's all a powder keg waiting to explode. There Will Be Blood explores the darker side of humanity in a way that is sinister, brutal, and without regret or compromise. It truly surprises me that this film was ever even picked up and released, because honestly, it's a very difficult film to classify. I've never seen anything quite like it. I'll be honest and say that this film probably won't be for everyone, and especially if you're into more action-oriented films, you might want to just skip it altogether. But as a cerebral character study, the film has few equals. It is a movie that I will continue to watch for years to come. So if you haven't seen it yet, and if any of this sounds appealing to you, do yourself a favor and watch it, and have a milkshake on me.